The truth about the Emiru rabbit allegations. Let's find out. Let's find out. Here we go.
Now, I'm sure most of the people watching
this story just keeps evolving, man.
This video are familiar with the accusations that Emiru has been making towards Mizkif, two very prominent streamers. They had a previous relationship, and these accusations are surrounding that. If you aren't familiar with the drama, I've got a few videos that I've made on it so far.
Facts.
Link in the description for the first one.
Oh yeah,
one.
by the way, original content will be the top link in the description. Please support the original video and watch his other videos about the situation too. No, go do it right now. Go support it. I swear to God.
Sent back by Mizkif saying that Emiru was not taking care of her rabbits, was being negligent in the care for these rabbits. Luckily enough, I had someone who worked in animal husbandry for the last couple of years here. That
animal husbandry? Yeah, it's name, dude. I'm just kidding.
Was not taking care of her rabbits, was being negligent in the care for these rabbits. Luckily enough, I had someone who worked in animal husbandry for the last couple of years here that would know something about how rabbits are supposed to be taken care of. They reached out to me, and I was able to actually learn some interesting things about taking care of rabbits. Just a heads up though, I've only spoken to one person who, yes, has worked with rabbits and making sure that they are being taken care of appropriately for years, but that does not mean that I believe myself or this other individual to be the arbiter of education on rabbit.
The arbiter of rabbit. How does this keep happening to me? This is the second time. What is going on in Miami, bruh? Yeah, the arbiter of rabbits,
and how to properly take care of them. There are so many variables that we are not aware of. There's so much context that we don't know. So please take that into consideration and just treat the video as such. I think the best way to get this video started off is to show you guys the clip from Mizkif's stream of him showing the video of Emiru's rabbit enclosure. Just before we jump into that though, quick 10 seconds. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Really helps out the channel. And if you
go subscribe to him right now, quit the
want to get it out to more people, give this video a like. From what I understand, helps boost the video in the algorithm. But regardless of if you do either of those things, enjoy the video. I do need to give you guys a heads up. I'm about to play the clip from my previous video. You are going to hear a text-to-speech going over it. It's kind of...
Is this the 77777?
Funny, I blocked it out, but you're going to hear it regardless, so just try to listen through it, and I apologize.
777.
Mizkif was getting trolled during this stream.
But as those rabbits moved out of her room and into the living room, they started to see disgusting neglect. No food, no water, sometimes not having clean bedding for weeks. I, along with many others who would come over, would give them what they needed, and I would tell her all the time to take care of them, but to no avail.
I'm sorry, it's just...
She completely neglected those rabbits, so much that many of them just died over 1 year
Why did he leave TTS on? Like,
being around in my house. These are small little mites that are inside the rabbit cage, and she didn't care. She completely neglected these animals, and I'm not going to sit around and let people say that she didn't. People who came to my house knew that they were neglected. This is an up-close view of the rabbit cage being completely disgusting and neglected. She left them to die, and I'm not going to sit here and have her pretend she didn't. It's fucking disgusting. This is a video from my own brother. I didn't record this. These are mites all around her cage. I would tell her to take care of them all the time, but to no avail. She completely neglected those rabbits, so much that many died just over a year or two of being around in my house. In fact, when Maya came over during my cancellation, she actually commented on Emiru's rabbits and said, "These rabbits are completely neglected and this is disgusting." Emiru wouldn't clean the cages and the smell became so bad that we started to have the rabbits just be outside. I told her if that's the case, she's got to make sure she's giving them water because they are her responsibility. Instead, these rabbits were left outside in 100-degree heat with no food or water or anything.
So now we're at his Twitch VOD where he shows this same stuff. I'm just going to play this. Keep in mind, the really big focus here that we're going to be touching on is like the poop, the mites that he's saying that are in here, but then also talking about that heat and leaving them outdoors, as this is kind of true. I think he's being misleading with explaining them as being outdoors, but I'll get to that in a sec. Now, I think we might have a little bit of useful context to go off of. This isn't concrete, but it is a post that came from a close friend of Emily, Emiru, within the last day here. Now, this comes from I Keep It Taco. From what I understand, they are a YouTuber streamer. They play League of Legends. And this is them directly talking about their experience with the bunnies and rabbits rabbits that Emiru has been keeping. I'm not going to be reading the whole thing, just the key points for the rabbits. I personally suspect the cage was recorded after she left back in early July of 2024 and kept it.
Sorry, I was out because my father scared the fuck out of me and I slapped him 3 times. Damn, that's crazy.
In case it could be used against her later. Seeing his decision to share the video now instead of back then, it seems to me he may have filmed and he kept the video for leverage. This kind of makes a little more sense based off the conversation and info I learned from that person I've told you guys about earlier. Going on though, what actually happened, to the best of my knowledge, Emily left the cage behind because she was moving out to a new house alone and took her buns with her. It made no sense for her to clean the cage that week. She was focusing on moving away from—
Why do you say buns? And took her buns with her. What the?
From a bad environment ASAP, and she planned to buy a new one for the new place. I helped her build the new cage at her place last summer. I had pictures of the day because while I was building it, her cat Cheddar was playing with my rings all day, so I was teasing him with them when he climbed into the cage. First 2 pictures. Rabbits are dirty animals. They shit and poop all the time in abundance. If you want a super clean cage with 0 poop visible, you'll end up cleaning it multiple times every day, every week. Most owners do it once or twice a week. It's normal for there to be poop. The poop is very dry, so it doesn't have any smell. There's no inherent issue with this. Rabbits poop 200 to 300 pellets a day each. That is not a lie. That was corroborated not only by the individual I spoke with, but with a quick Google search. Why is the cage extra dirty and why does it have bugs in it? Emily didn't see a reason to clean it again if she was moving out and not bringing it with her. If I had to guess, it was unattended for a couple weeks or more after she left. People were free to toss it away. The bugs likely showed up.
How do we know that it's even her cage?
After the cage was left dirty for some amount of time. She left them to die? No, she didn't. 2 of the buns, Kiwi and Honey, are with her, last picture, and the third one, Bean, passed away last year because of medical problems. And then they're showing—
I'm just going to assume it is, like, it's an actual picture. I don't know.
Pictures of those rabbits. We'll see them in a sec here. They then go into details about the health problems of some of these rabbits, including one that was 5+ years old, which is pretty good. Living 7 to 10 years is not unexpected for indoor rabbits. For outdoor, it's usually 2 to 3 years. But one important thing to note in here was the first day Bean had passed out in regard to their medical problems, Emily immediately ended stream and drove 3 hours to the nearest open animal hospital because it was a Sunday and most of them nearby were closed. They also go on to mention that a few of these rabbits had poor genetics due to the breeder she got them from years ago, pre-2017, 2018. They hadn't noticed this until the bunnies had bred later on in their lives, and they learned it over time. Essentially explaining away some of the passings of these rabbits to either poor genetics or some of the health problems that they had. And then from Taka's claim, Emily has cared for multiple bunnies over the years. If they had any medical issue or were found to have a birth defect, she'd spend thousands of dollars to give them the best care and as fast as possible. Try to give her bunnies the fullest and longest lives possible, even when she was told it wasn't worth it financially. This was also before she got into streaming, and she is the same way now. They're not an accessory, as some people try to imply on this site. It is hard to believe an animal abuser would do this. And then they're quoting off, loud noises can lead to extreme fear, heart attacks, and other health problems like gastrointestinal stasis. It's important to provide a calm environment and a safe, quiet hiding place to minimize their stress. Veterinarian articles about rabbits. Now, this ends up getting corroborated by the person I speak with too. When they get really scared, their heartbeat gets very, very fast and it stops them from moving. And that's kind of that freezing characteristic that they go through when they see a predator. And they mentioned that they believe that Mizkif's behavior during this time came with a lot of yelling, door slamming, wall punching, and other loud outbursts. And that loud noise and stress can exacerbate rabbit heart conditions. Due to this, I don't think he considered the bun's well-being until it benefited him as leverage. Rabbits are prey animals. They're very sensitive and fragile creatures.
I think it's pretty obvious that that's what he's trying to do.
We're talking about the no food, no water that Mizkif brought up is completely false. She left them outside in 100 degrees weather, quote as well.
Yeah, Emiru literally said that Mizkif was going to try and use that, and then Mizkif immediately did it. So it's like, yeah.
Let the buns into the rest of the house and sometimes backyard to roam around. That's healthy for them. She doesn't keep them in cages or playpens 24/7. They go on to talk about another potential story of Mizkif being controlling over Emiru in regard to a stray cat. We don't really need to see the rest of this for what we're talking about today. Here is a photo of that new rabbit cage that they had mentioned where the cat was playing with the rings inside of the cage. One of the pictures of the rabbits and then another picture of the rabbit. You can see those pellets as well. Now, I think Taco's statement does make a few good clarifications, like in regard to rabbit poop and how often they do, as well as talking about the stressful environment with very loud noises, how that can impact rabbits, and then also clarifying a few of the details on how Emiru treated them. However, when talking to the person that had reached out to me that has
more info,
worked in animal husbandry for the last 6 years, they
husbandry is just such a weird name.
Said that it was made apparent that these rabbits were not taken care of nearly as well as they should be, or at least that they expected that they would be. Just to kind of confirm that I had this conversation, I'm not just making this up. They had reached out to me, said asking for animal people to talk about rabbits. I work in animal welfare and I have for 6 years. I'm currently at a facility that actually houses rabbits from time to time for research, and I am a part of the team that is responsible for making sure the animals are being treated ethically. Ask whatever questions you have and I can answer them to the best of my ability. I asked them to kind of verify their work or have any proof of that. I'm not trying to get this person doxxed or anything, but they did
yes, you can't show
me this information. They also sent me a link to the website for the place that they were working at. I have no reason to believe that they're bullshitting me on this. They had a lot of info that I was able to, you know, further corroborate by doing my own research after the fact. But obviously, because I'm not showing you everything.
How can you let these precious rabbits die?
I mean, for you guys, a nameless, faceless person. Based off of the info that they shared with me, I think that they're legit. I think they had really good points to make. But again, up to you guys. Let me know in the comments. Me and this person ended up actually going over this other clip, which is on Livestream Fails, a video of how Emmy was treating her rabbits in 2022. And this is the video that they kind of picked apart, and that's because we see a much better view of multiple cages for the rabbits. You can see that there's multiple cages out here on the balcony, which is the outside area. For starters, the amount of bedding in these enclosures is not enough. You can see that there are spots of the plastic that are showing on the bottom. This is a better example of it, where you can see as they go by, there's multiple different cages where you can see that there is no bedding in large parts of the cages here, and at the bottom you just see that hard plastic. Second point that was brought up is that there are very few, if any at all, toys for the rabbits to play with. For those who don't know, rabbits need enrichment, similar to other animals like a cat or a dog to play around with. For rabbits in particular, it actually has to do with their teeth. They need something to chew on to help wear down their teeth, as they're always constantly growing. And so the fact that it seems like none are present in any of their enclosures either, which it's hard to see because of the bit rate, so you know there might be some, that again is just something that they need to have. You might also be noticing there are these water bowls that are in their enclosures, and a little bowl for their food as well. They pretty much only primarily eat hay. They mentioned that in this kind of environment, like them being out on the balcony with this 100-degree heat, water bowls are not ideal, particularly these metallic ones, because they can evaporate, in which case that rabbit would lose access
Do you like me to get out of your stream if I'm disturbing you?
to water, and they need it 24/7. The alternative that they had mentioned, which is pretty common for small mammals like this,
let me in to your home.
is this little drip feeder, which you might recognize if you've, ever seen a cage for one of these little guys. Now, even though I had this conversation with this person that's been doing this for years, I went and found 3 different websites that went over taking care of rabbits, the enclosure, whatnot. They do mention separately that it is a good idea to have a water bowl, like right here, for instance. So there are recommendations from these sites, which, top sites of Google, I found a .org as well, that recommend using a water bowl. This one here as well mentions a water bowl. But this third one too mentions that water source being the bottle, that drip feeder that I had showed you guys earlier. All of them do mention toys. They mention hutches, which are very common for outdoor rabbits. I believe this right here is that hutch, which is clearly not what the rabbits had access to. It looks like they were just letting them out onto that balcony floor. Now, probably the last thing that was brought to their attention had to do with this last rabbit here. You can see this plastic water bottle behind them that's laying down on its side. And they were curious as to why that was there. They assumed that this was kind of a way to help cool off the rabbits. And this actually makes sense, as rabbits are very temperature sensitive, especially in regard to heat. They don't have sweat glands. So being out in temperatures that are even above 75 degrees is
we're getting a whole ass education lesson on rabbits, bro. This is
healthy for them. Now, I did find on one of these websites, they made mention of this strategy. They say here, rabbits succumb very easily to heat. For this reason, you will need to keep their environment below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Clearly, this means that you should never keep your rabbit outdoors for long periods of time. If you do not have an air-conditioned home, you can create bunny air conditioners for hot days. Freeze water in plastic pop bottles and place them in a rabbit's room. That rabbit will lie next to them to cool off and even use them as toys. So they are mentioning this idea, but it's specifically in regard to if you don't have air conditioning in the home, you should still have them inside. Now, multiple articles mention this fact in different areas. This one here specifically, what does a rabbit need in their cage? If you do not have carpet, provide thick yoga mats and bits of carpet to prevent pressure sores on their feet. If you allow your rabbit free access to your home, please ensure that you are rabbit proofing and keeping them safe from electrical wires, toxic plants, and chewing on the walls. Now, these sores on the feet, I feel like you might end up running into that issue if you don't have enough bedding in their cages, as they're just going to be stepping on plastic, which is not great for their feet. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I kind of forgot in regard to the poop. Almost all of these articles, I think all three of them mention that you should have a litter box in their enclosures. That's because rabbits are incredibly
these little cute things use litters as toys.
Easy to potty train. Genuinely, it is as simple as waiting for them to poop and then moving their pellets into the area that you want them to poop in, like a litter box, and then they'll just start pooping on top of the poop. It's very simple. It doesn't appear that Emiru had done that with any of the rabbit enclosures that have been shown, not by Mizkif or from that 2022 stream. And truly, just from my small amount of research, it seemed mentioned by just about every single article or YouTube video that I had seen. It was first brought to my attention by the professional that I was chatting with about it, but after I started looking at these articles, it showed up
I mean, bro, like everybody already knew this was some bullshit that Mizkif was trying to spin, right?
Another good point they brought up, and we're going back to Mizkif's clip, is these
fair, but this is just him really explaining it.
Well, the person I spoke with doesn't believe that these are mites. This is a warning for you guys. I'm about to show in like a couple of seconds here mites on rabbits and
we're skipping because that's gross.
shoes. You would see this crusting on the skin. You would also see the skin being very flaky, the little white spots, not what you're seeing in the video. This
Do you hate Dragon Ball, aka us?
kind of gives
Dragon
more
Ball.
credence
Me and all
to
my
what
homies
Taco
hate
was saying,
Dragon
that they
Ball.
believed that this was a video taken weeks after Emiru had left and she had given them a new cage at the new house that she went to. Altogether, I'm very curious to hear what you guys think, because it does seem that there were quite a few mistakes or missteps done in the care of these rabbits based on the information that was given to me by this person that's been working with them for multiple years in animal husbandry. I think a really important thing to remember is that although it does appear that Emiru was not doing the best job of taking care of these rabbits, I think Mizkif was definitely painting them in a light that does not make sense, even based off of, you know, what I've shared with you guys today, what I learned.
It do be seeming that way.
Learned about the care that it seemed these rabbits were being given. Mizkif had even made mention of these
Why do you hate Dragon Ball? How about you put these dragon balls on your jaws, bro?
that you could see in the enclosure, except they weren't even rabbit mites. And it plays more to the idea that Taco had brought up in their statement that that was an enclosure that was not taken after for multiple weeks. There also were no rabbits present in that video. Maybe they were off camera, but likely they might not have also just been there at all. I don't think anyone is a perfect caretaker for the animals that they do take care of. I am not perfect with my own dog. And if I'm being completely honest, I think that Mizkif had that footage and sat on it, didn't help the rabbits, and for me that just leads into he wanted to use it as blackmail. He thought that,
of course he did,
that it looked pretty bad, and so he kept it.
Well, we basically know this, not for a fact, but once again, Emiru in her stream/video saying all of her accusations said that Mizkif had a plan to smear, to fucking make a smear campaign on her, try to ruin her career with calling her a rabbit abuser and shit, right? And then Mizkif, in his response, did exactly that. He did exactly what she said he was going to do.
Around waiting for a moment like this. I don't think that he
I know why, because you have no subs, no viewers, because you hate Dragon Ball.
Actually has any understanding how rabbits are supposed to be taken care of. And so I really feel like this call out is not for a good reson, and he didn't even recognize any poor treatment of them in the way that the person I
so if I dick eat Dragon Ball, I'm gonna get 1 million viewers. All right, yo Goku, give me 1 million viewers right now.
With did. All that to say, yeah, I think Mizkif is definitely coming from a bad place with bringing this to light. But at the same time, I think it's fair to recognize that, yeah, she was not doing the best job of taking care of these rabbits, even with these ice bottles in the enclosures, sitting out on a balcony in Texas where the temperature can reach 100 degrees is not good for these rabbits. On top of that, it doesn't help that they also had poor genetics and were not doing well medically to start regardless. That can still be true, and Emiru still could have been very abused used in the relationship like she had claimed in her statements. These two things can be true at the same time. And no, this video is not to say I think Emiru is just as bad as Mizkif. It was information that I wanted to verify and make a video about. And so I did so and learned some stuff that I was genuinely surprised to learn about. From my perspective going into it, I thought that video of them back in 2022 was showing them being taken care of very well. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think about this. If there are any other Rabbit professionals in the comments, I'd love to hear more. I'll also leave links to the video and the live stream Reddit video that I had shown you guys from back.
I swear tomorrow there'll be 200, wait, there will be 200 or I don't know how many people in your live stream will be because of me. All right, I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to
but that's it for the video. Thank you for 90K subs, and I'll see you guys later. Adios, peace, bye.
I believe. Why is he ending all of his videos like that? Really scaring the fuck out of me every single time. Well, chat, that's that. Once again, original video being the top. Think of the description. Oh, yeah.